Hi, I'm Rebecca Davis of Weird, Scary, and Interesting. And today we are going to be talking about ghost stories, particularly ghost stories from the music industry. I have my skeleton earrings on and ready to talk about Ghost of Kings of Music. And my gem necklace ready. So, yeah, I thought we could talk about Ghost of Kings of Music. Okay, I'll tell you what it's about. The phrase Ghost of Kings of Music can be interpreted as a metaphorical reference to a legacy or enduring influence of deceased influential musicians, often referred to as kings of the respective genres. We are going to learn all about 5 music genres and ghostly hauntings of first kings in music, and where these first kings in music are haunting. There is any documented reports of there being any ghostly hauntings. So I'll take a little sip of iced tea and we'll get into it. Okay. And then at the end of the video, I'll tell you what the sequel to this video will be. Let's get into it. Country music. Now, my country fans can guess who the first king of country music is. At any age range, whether you're old or just coming into country, you probably learned who is the first king of country. There has been lots of them, but I'm talking about the guy that kicked it all off. Now let's learn a little bit about the genre of country music. I love country music, so I know who the first king of country music. I'm not trying to brag. Country music is a form of popular music originating in rural southern USA. It is traditionally a mixture of ballads, dance tunes played characteristically on fiddle, guitar, steel guitar, drums, and keyboards. May I also say, my country fans could probably guess who the first king of country is. And he's at number 1, and it is Roy Acuff. Roy Acuff was a country musician, country music singer that was considered to be the first king of country music from the 1930s until his death on November 23rd, 1992. From congestive heart failure at the Baptist Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee, USA, at the age of 89 years old. Okay, let's find out. Let's see how long Roy Acuff reigned for. Roy Acuff reigned country music for 62 years. It's not too bad. A good amount of time he put impact into the country music genre. So it was pretty good reign for him. Okay, let's find out the ghostly hauntings of Roy Acuff. But after his death, there has been some ghostly reports of Roy Acuff's ghost. Some staff members claim to hear footsteps and door slamming. Claim to hear the door slamming in the old home of Roy Acuff. Late at night, more than one security guard has ran out of the building after the sun has gone down because they were frightened from the unexplained noises they heard inside the old Acuff house. It was said Roy Acuff has never truly left the building because the legend has been spotted the most at the Opry. So much the employees must say, "Good night, Mr. Acuff," before locking up the building, or strange things will happen. Opry employees have reported that once fans and performers leave, they will prepare to lock up only to hear the sound of the curtains opening. If they don't tell Roy good night when they go to see, the curtains will indeed be up with lights on. Looks like someone's getting ready to take stage. It was kind of nice that I heard it's kind of nice that they acknowledge that Roy Acuff's still hanging around the Grand Ole Opry for all of eternity. I heard about this story about the ghostly happenings at the Opry. A show I watched when I was in Milliers with my mom and stepdad. I was home with a ear infection. I don't suffer with them anymore. And it was mentioned on that ghost show that Roy Acuff haunts the Grand Ole Opry. So the acknowledgement of Roy Acuff's ghost being there reminds me of, there's a ghost story behind Catherine Parr, because Catherine Parr haunts Plickling Castle. Catherine Parr is the wife to Henry VIII, which Henry VIII happens to be my fourth cousin. So Catherine Parr's my cousin-in-law. So there's a ghost story attached to Catherine Parr, the sixth and final wife of my fourth cousin, Henry VIII. That Catherine Parr had remarried. I'm just making sure I have the right husband she remarried to. After Henry had died, she remarried again to Thomas Seymour, And Thomas would be her 4th husband. So, um, yeah. So she married to Thomas Seymour. Her and Thomas Seymour had a little girl named Mary. After Catherine Parr had died from complications of the childbirth of her daughter, she died from it, and her daughter was lost to history because mainly Thomas abandoned their daughter Mary. And okay, so we all know what happened to Thomas. Thomas lost his head. Um, so, anyways, Catherine Parr mainly haunts Plickling Castle. Since they found out that Catherine Parr is still at Plickling, because that's where Catherine lived with her last husband, Thomas Seymour, and she had her daughter Mary there, which there's a whole ghost story that she's like in the afterlife reunited with her daughter Mary. So maybe her daughter Mary actually died. Maybe that's what happened to her. Um, so the Grand Ole Opry does, every night when they lock up this, when the staff at Plickling Castle, like the staff at the Grand Ole Opry does, they have to say, good night, Kitty, or Kathy. Um, I think it's Kitty. Um, to the ghost of Catherine Parr. Um, so they, so she knows they're acknowledging she's still at Plickling. Because I learned about the little ghost tale of Catherine Parr through a ghost story episode of some uh, show, uh, old classic ghost show that had an episode they went to, it was like hauntings of the UK. Um, and that's how I found out that since they found out that Catherine Parr's ghost is still attached to Plickling Castle. But I wouldn't imagine that's the only place that Catherine Parr haunts. Um, she haunts Hampton Court, but somebody in a ghost story, I heard that she's haunting Plickling, and that's what they have their little ritual of saying goodnight to the ghost of Catherine Parr, like they do with Roy Acuff's ghost. They trying to acknowledge Roy Acuff's ghost, but I've never heard of Catherine Parr's ghost retaliating um, if they forget to say goodnight to her. Um, it just sounds like the Catherine Parr's ghost is at peace of being where she last lived. Okay. Okay. Now, let's move on from country music to opera. Okay. Opera. I'll tell you a little bit of opera. Do you want a barbecue after I'm done this? Opera is a dramatic work in one or more acts set to music for singers and instrumental. It's kind of
I don't know if you can with spoon.
kind of like um kind of like Broadway, but not like Broadway. But, you know, anybody watch the horror movie The Phantom of the Opera would know a bit about opera. Especially the ones that are fans of opera would know this. Okay. Now, opera brings us our second king of music, which is Carlito Monteverdi. And sorry about the glare. I'm working on a different tablet because the big tablet obviously is having storage problems, and so we have to record on smaller tablets. Okay. Carlo Car Cardili Car Carlito Monteverdi was the Italian composer that was considered to be the first king of opera. Better. Okay. Considered to be the first king of opera. From 1607 until his death on November 29th, 1643, from natural causes, in Venice, Italy, at the age of 76 years old. But while there's no record of Carlito Monteverdi's ghost haunting any specific location, his music currently haunts the halls of musical history, particularly for his contributions to the development of opera. Okay. Oh, I forgot to tell you how long he reigned. He reigned for Carlito Monteverdi reigned for 36 years. That's not bad. Still good enough time to put an impact into his receptive genre of opera. So, okay. So I guess at least his music is still being recognized all these years later. Even if there's no ghost story attached to him. There's another episode we could do is haunting music. Music that are haunting. There's a lot of haunting music out there, like The Ride, The Ghost Hank Williams by David Allan Coe. There's even Midnight in Montgomery by Alan Jackson. Even Loretta Lynn has a song about, when she was alive, had a song about the fact that about her haunted mansion, that her haunted house that she lived in Hurricane Hills. Yeah. I think The Gambler could, in a way, could be a little haunting. It depends on depends on whose opinion on it. Okay, let's move on from opera to pop music. Now, this artist is the first king of pop. No one would probably guess who it would have been, because you think of pop music, you think of Michael Jackson. You don't think of this guy would be the first king of pop. I'll tell you a little bit about pop music before I tell you who the first king of pop is. Pop music is referred to the popular and light and commercial sound that characteristics the style. Okay. And pop music brings us our third king, which is Bing Crosby. Right? You wouldn't expect Bing Crosby's the first king of pop music, right? I was shocked when I made this script. It's like, really? Bing Crosby? No way. After I'm done recording, you can tell me what's on your brain, because you look puzzled.
Someone said there was a bad accident right now, basically.
Okay, sorry about that. Nita thought she seen or read that there was a bad car accident somewhere. Okay, back to Bing Crosby. Yeah, really, you wouldn't guess that Bing Crosby would be the first king of pop. That's surprising. Bing Crosby was an American singer and actor that was the first musician to be known as the king of pop music. Right? Really, that's surprising. Okay, from the 1930s to the 40s, so around the Second World War, his reign started. Just like Roy Acuff. His reign started around the Second World War. Okay, until his death on October 14th, 1977, from a heart attack on a golf course outside of Madrid, Spain, at the age of 74 years old. Yeah, I heard about him dying on a golf course in Madrid, Spain, from my aunt. Because once in a while she mentions that Bing Crosby died on a golf course. I guess Bing Crosby didn't plan on dying that day. He just planned that I want to go for a round of golf. I guess you can say it spoiled his golf game. Okay, let's find out how many years Bing Crosby ruled. Bing Crosby ruled for 47 years. Not bad. In the year he died, this is the exact same year, Elvis Presley died. About a couple of months later. Yeah, a couple months later. There's some ghost stories behind Elvis Presley, associated with Elvis Presley, from him haunting Vegas, his home in Graceland. That'd be a totally different episode, probably. Yeah, so, 47 years. That's not bad. Good enough time for Bing Crosby to put an impact into his respective genre of pop music. I can't think of pop music I can't think of Bing Crosby and think of pop. I think of pop music, I think of Michael Jackson. Okay, let's see if there's any ghost stories associated with Bing Crosby. Okay. Well, while there are stories and mentions of ghosts in places connected to Bing Crosby, there's no concrete evidence or widely accepted belief that Bing Crosby's ghost haunts any specific location. So it's one of those, like me and Anita do, when we hear somebody dies, that we assume maybe their ghost will be haunting that place. It's just thinking that, like say for example, maybe he's haunting the golf course he died on in Madrid, Spain. It's just assuming. We don't, there's no documented evidence the ghost of Bing Crosby's playing around a golf for all of eternity. If that, well, at least he's having fun. But mainly ghost stories are made up with rumors, speculation, to oral stories, and some of it is passed around or told by around campfires. Or there's a scene out of anybody watch Ghostbusters, the original Ghostbusters? I think it was the first Ghostbusters. There's a reporter in there that talks about his grandma always spin the tale of a ghostly train racing past the farmhouse. So it's probably uh it's probably somebody's grandparents or friends telling a tale of there's this theater Bing Crosby used to play at. It's haunted. It not necessarily could be him, but it's it it could be in the after fact that it was already haunted before Bing Crosby went there. Because ghost stories, uh, there's been ghosts through the centuries, ghost stories. Well, even the Victorians were big into the whole uh, ghost. If you watched my Scary Things of the Victorian era, you know they're big into the occult. Anyways, okay, we'll move on from pop music. Well, I scratched my elbow. And we're gonna go to our second to last music genre, which has our second to last king of music. And the second to last music genre is orchestral big band. Orchestral big band is a large musical established often associated with jazz. It features a exact section of brass instruments like trumpets, trombones, reed instruments like saxes, and rhythm section. It's a type of orchestra that plays jazz music, particularly that of the swing era of music. The swing era of music is more from around the the early 19th century, around the First World War, and somewhere around, I think right through to the Second World War. You see a lot of that type of music going on. If you see a lot of period movies, they have that type of upbeat tempo music. Okay, and orchestral music, as I say, it brings us our fourth king, which is our second to last king, and his name is Paul Whiteman. A lot of my older viewers would know this genre and probably has heard of Paul Whiteman. Paul Whiteman was an American band leader and composer that was considered to be the first orchestral big band. First king of the orchestral big band from 1919 until his death on December 29th, 1967, from a heart attack at Dulce Town Hospital, Dulce Town, Pennsylvania, at the age of 77 years old. And Paul Whiteman's the third guy out of this whole list that died of a heart attack. Okay, let's see how long he ruled for. 48 years. A year shot, 1 year more than what Bing Crosby reigned. But then Paul Whiteman did start way before Bing Crosby and Roy Acuff, so that's why the numbers are a little different. Okay, let's see if there's any ghost stories connected to Paul Whiteman. But after Paul Whiteman's death, there has been visitors having claimed hearing beautiful music coming from an empty ballroom. Ghost hunters speculate this could be the spirit of Paul Whiteman's ghost, the spirit of Paul Whiteman playing his music from beyond the grave. So it's like there's a ghost story I heard this saying from, which be perfect for this. That I guess they're not giving Paul Whiteman and Roy Acuff are not giving up the roost. They are still ruling the respective genres from beyond the grave. Okay. Okay, let's move on from orchestral big band to our last music genre and our last king of music. Our last music genre is ragtime music. Ragtime music, well, I'll tell you what ragtime music is. Ragtime music is a kind of music involved by African American musicians in 1890s. So that's the late 18th century. And played especially on piano characteristic by a sniffed melodic line and regularly accentuated accompaniment. So, okay, let's find out her fifth and final king, and this one comes from ragtime. And it's Scott Joplin. I don't know if he's related to Janis Joplin. Scott Joplin was an American composer and pianist that was considered to be the first king of ragtime from 1899 until his death on April 1st, April Fool's Day, 1917. Some syphilis at Manhattan Psychiatric Center, New York, USA. At the age of 48 years old. Yeah, he's our youngest king that died young on this list. Okay, let's see how many years Scott ruled his genre. He ruled 18 years, so it's a little not so long. But he was king of ragtime. But still enough to make an impact in his specific genre. Okay, let's see if there might be a ghost story connected to Scott Joplin. But while there's no concrete evidence of Scott Joplin's ghost haunting a significant location, the house in St. Louis where he lived and worked is rumored to be haunted. Inspired an author, Tan Ree, due to write her novel, Joplin's Ghost. Well, you think of it. There's a lot of things that were inspired in different things. Like, they say, that Stephen King, when he went and stayed at the Stanley Hotel, yeah, and his stay there inspired him to write The Shining. So, think of it. You can take inspiration on anything. So hopefully you found that maybe interesting, a little scary. Not enough scary where you are not going to be able to sleep with the lights on tonight. Maybe if you stayed at the Acuff house, you might want to keep the lights on. So, if that, you know the drill. Like and subscribe, and don't forget to comment, and don't forget to do what I forget to tell you guys, or ladies. Don't forget to like the bell, ring the bell. Anita, you're getting ready to say that now.
Yeah,
So, if you like you ring the bell, you'll get notifications for current episodes on this channel. We are scary and interesting. And if you comment, I just know how I'm doing. And again, make sure you be respectful in the comments. It's not only for me, it's for the rest of the community of this channel. We are scary and interesting. Because other people do read that comments. And subscribing just helps this channel grow. And you subscribe, you can see Weird, Scary, and Interesting be on YouTube for many of years till maybe I retire or maybe I pass on. Hopefully not for a long, long time. And liking is liking. Then you never hear anybody saying don't like or dislike. You can like if you want to like. Oh. Okay. And before I sign off, I'm going to tell you a couple of things that are might be coming up. There's going to be a sequel to this episode of A Ghost of Kings of Music. And it's going to be called Ghost of Queens of Music. So, you know how a king might have a queen if they're lucky? And or some queens rule on their own right. And since this was just 5 men and 5 kings, there's going to be 5 queens in that episode. Because when that releases and you see the entrance in the cover picture, it shows 7 queens in that. And when you see the entrance for this video, you'll see 5. And also sometime this week, oh yeah, 5 kings from this. So also this week, I'm going to be planning on doing a book review. See, since in Canada, we celebrate Indigenous Month. And Indigenous Month is a celebration to celebrate First Nations, like First Nations, Inuits, and Métis. First Nations in Canada is what we call Indians. Like in the United States, they call them Native Americans. I think I heard once they're trying to separate our Indians from the Indians in India, because they're 2 different types of Indians. With 2 different fascinating cultures. And it's also Pride Month, isn't it? Right, B? But sometime for Indigenous Month in Canada, I'm going to be doing a book review from the Dear Canada series on a First Nation girl called Genevieve Uppercorn. She lived during the War of the Plains of Abraham. And in that episode, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the real life Genevieve Uppercorn. When I read it, I had to look her up. She's a real life person. So wait for that sometime this week. It'll be coming up. A little different. I don't have to always do the same thing. I'm trying to do different things. Anything to bring in the views and the subscribers. So for now, till the book review episode, I will sign off and say goodbye. Goodbye.